Hi everybody, it's Ian here from IBI Performance Coaching. Today we're going to talk about how to formulate the simplest but probably the most effective strategy you'll ever have. So the topic of today's video is going to be the one-word strategy. I got this idea from a book called One Word That Will Change Your Life. So if you're interested, please check out that book. And it's a really simple but profoundly impactful, powerful idea. And the idea is exactly what it sounds like. It is a strategy that's comprised of a single word. Now, before we talk about how to identify this word or engage with it, we need to acknowledge that a strategy is only meaningful in context of a goal, right? If you don't have a goal established, then a strategy is basically meaningless because a strategy is nothing more than a plan for how to achieve some sort of desired outcome. In other words, a goal. So we do need a goal to be set in order for this to work. Goals are very important. I'm not going to go too deep into this stuff, and we all know how to set smart goals. Hopefully, if you don't, ask your friendly neighborhood large language model. I'm sure it'll be able to help you. But the goals are important because they provide direction. They give us a way to navigate. All right. If you are climbing a mountain, there are two behaviors that need to take place when you're climbing a mountain. One behavior is you need to be looking where you're stepping in order to ensure that you don't stumble or fall, hurt yourself. But the second behavior is that you need to be glancing up at the summit, at the destination towards which you want to be progressing. And you are going to intersperse these behaviors, alternate them. Watch your feet, check the summit. Watch your feet, check the summit. If you only do one of those two things, you're setting yourself up for a fall or for a failure, alternatively. And so we do want to have that goal already in mind before we really engage with this one-word strategy. Now, it's also important to recognize that goals are very limited in that we can't control the outcomes that we get in life. We really can only control what happens internally for us, and that only to the degree to which we've developed our ability to control that space. So when you choose a goal, you're not necessarily choosing the successes that you will someday enjoy. Rather, you are choosing the challenges that you are willing to face. That's what goal selection really is. It's selecting the challenges that you want to deal with, that you want to overcome or attempt to overcome, that you want to be responsible for helping you grow and develop. And so what a strategy is meant to do is, yes, it helps you achieve the goal, but again, that's not entirely in our control. So instead, what it's primarily responsible for is providing guidance with regard to the challenges that you've elected to face. How are you going to face those challenges? That's where a strategy really comes in handy. And that brings us to this one-word strategy idea. So why is a one-word strategy, a single word strategy, a good idea? Well, it provides tremendous clarity. In a lot of ways, the more language you use, the more you obfuscate the intuitive wisdom of the strategy that you are attempting to follow. By boiling it down to a single word, it has a punchiness and a motive ability that something that's long and drawn out will not have. I mean, think about strategy statements that you've seen maybe in a business that you work for, an organization that you're associated with, and how convoluted they can get and self-contradicting they can get. How easy it is to end up saying so much that you only end up saying nothing of use. One word strategy avoids all that. Additionally, it is highly memorable. It doesn't get much more memorable than a single word. I remember hearing at some point about a tribe, an indigenous tribe somewhere, that only had a numbering system up to 3. They could count 1, 2, and 3, and after that, they just had a word for many that meant more than 3, any number more than 3. And this this identifies something important about the human psychology or ability to grasp the outside world, which is 1 we can handle, 2 we can handle, 3 seems like a sort of a completeness, right? Think about all the things that come in 3s. But after that, we sort of start to lose grasp of each of the individual elements. And so we're going to stick with 1 here. With clients, when we work on things like developing their values, things like that, I'm always encouraging them to limit it to 3. Goals or commitments for the week, limit it to 3 to keep them memorable. This is highly important because regardless of how motivated you are, if the action you're trying to take is not memorable enough, you won't do it. You could be the most motivated person in the world, and the behavior could be highly accessible, but if you don't remember to do it, then you will not have done it. Okay, so clarity and memorability. These are the 2 things that one-word strategies really have in their favor. And one way that you can employ this is whenever you come upon a challenge or a fork in the road or something that requires you to make a choice related to your goal. Ask yourself, what would insert your one-word strategy there do? And so for me, I spent a year with the one-word strategy of courage. This is when I was first building my coaching business, and I needed to have the courage to reach out to potential clients, to post things on the internet, to sort of build a YouTube library, if you will, of things that I wasn't always happy with how the video turned out, but I could always nitpick it endlessly. I could always remake it and remake it. And at some point, I just had to say, what would courage do? And say, courage would put the stuff out there and know that it can handle whatever the result is, whatever comes back. So what would insert your one-word strategy do? And you're anthropomorphizing probably some sort of concept there, but there's nothing wrong with that. You're highly capable of doing that, I'm sure. Okay, so this is one way to use it. Now, how do we identify what is a sensible one-word strategy for you? Well, probably the easiest way is to do what's called future casting. And so let's take us back to the goal that you set. Basically, you put yourself in a future space, a future headspace where you have achieved the goal that you identified. You've done it, okay? Now, put yourself in that, embody that feeling. What does it feel like to be the person who's achieved that thing, to look back on what it required to get there? And then you ask yourself, what allowed me to succeed here? What allowed me to succeed? And so when I looked back on having a thriving coaching business that I was happy with, and I said, what allowed me to succeed here? The answer came back very readily that it was courage. Okay. This year, my one-word strategy is commitment, because I'm really trying to finish a book that I've been working on for a long time, and looking back from the position of being a published author and saying what allowed me to reach this place, the clear answer is commitment to the project. Whether it's going well, whether it feels like it's going poorly, whether I'm busy, whether I'm free. I'm committed to making sure that this thing gets done. So this sort of future casting and asking what allowed me to succeed can work out well. One of my clients has the one-word strategy of momentum because he recognizes how crucial it is to build momentum and how important it is to jealously guard the momentum that you have built, to not allow yourself to get derailed once you do get rolling. So that's just another example. The real secret sauce to why the one word strategy is so powerful, though, and I save this for the end for those of you who stick around, is that if you follow your strategy, you are guaranteed success. Guaranteed success. Why can I say that? You're not guaranteed to achieve your goal. But if you spend, the recommendation is like a year with a single one word strategy. If you spend a year following the guidance of a single word strategy like this, one that you've identified as not even just necessary, but primary in its importance with regard to something that a valued outcome, you will be a different person at the end. You will be, in my case, a more courageous person, a person who's willing to put themselves out there more, to reach out more, to do the stuff that scares a lot of people. And so while I may or may not have met my 1-year goals for growing and developing my coaching business, I have absolutely met and exceeded the standard that I set for myself in terms of developing my personal courage, in terms of becoming a more capable person. And so the one word strategy, if you stick to it, is a guaranteed recipe for capacity building, for building your own personal excellence. And really, in the end, that is going to be worth more than any goal you could set and achieve. Because as you become more capable, goals that might have seemed intimidating or impossible previously, they become easy. And you're just a better person, which, who doesn't want that? Okay, so I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions about coming up with or applying this one-word strategy. Throw them down in the comments. I really appreciate everybody who supports the channels in this channel in all the ways that you know how to, I'm sure already. If you're interested in learning more, there's the Facebook group. I post a lot of stuff in there, and we have exercise-based routines, workout programs that are available down below. Okay, thank you so much. I just want to remind everybody that personal excellence is a habit. Elite performance is a choice, and you can make it at any point. Okay, have a great day.